From the developmental years in early education to institutes and higher learning, teachers and educators help us to understand the world in molding, guiding us, and being mentors in aspects of our lives. In this mini-series on Teacher Appreciation Week for 2025, I am joined by a fellow service member, now an educator in the state of Illinois. After 4 years of military service and becoming a public servant, he was able to accomplish his goal of become a teacher in 2019. Now, having taught for 5 years, we explore his experience in seeing his first class graduate, his challenges along the way in becoming an educator. Facing some adversity and life-changing decisions during his early adult years, we discuss his decision to join the military, the course-changing interaction with a military educator, along with his professional and personal achievements as a teacher, juggling life and a career that requires a lot of involvement, as well as the moments and the mentors that inspired him to become a teacher. So, welcome back to another episode of the ESL sessions in the segment of En mi Comunidad, in my community. And on this episode, specifically for Teacher Appreciation Week of 2025, I actually have a really special guest. And I say that because not only is this person a teacher, I also served with them in the military at, I think it was our first command. So before any of that, I mean, he's been a great guy and everything. And like I said, I've known him for a while, but I'll let him introduce himself. So go ahead, man, whenever you're ready.
Hey, what's up, man? My name is Chaz Clinton. To everybody out there, like he said, we served together in the military and the Navy. I grew up in Springfield, Illinois. And funny thing is I met somebody who graduated at the crosstown rival school. Do you remember Greneau?
I think so, dude. I think so.
Bro, he graduated a year earlier than me, and we met on the ship. That was the first time seeing each other on the ship. We were talking about this food called the horseshoe.
Yeah.
And it's something that only Central Illinois has. And we were just like, no way, I graduated. And yeah, we're just like, oh yeah, he actually knew my wife's little sisters, and it's crazy.
Dude, it's a small world. It's a super small world.
Small world. And our ship had 300 people on it. How? I don't even know.
Oh yeah, dude.
So yeah, grew up in Springfield, Illinois. After high school, I wanted to become a teacher, but had other plans. I had a child at 18. So that kind of forced me to take on more of a father role to provide for my family and make more money rather than taking on a student role, not really making any money. So I was working 2 jobs, but I still had a scholarship for UIS to become a teacher. It's always been my dream to become a teacher since I can remember. And I didn't really do a good job. I failed out my freshman year. Scholarship pretty much dropped me off, and that's when I came knocking on the Navy's door. Navy accepted me with open arms. I excelled very much in the Navy. We can talk about that here in a little bit, but my plan was always to get in, get my degree, start my college, go online, do whatever I had to do, and then get out, come back home and teach. And that's I kept that plan. I now teach at Southeast High School Spartans. Go East Side. I graduated there 2009. This is my 4th year teaching, and I'm living the dream, literally.
And it sounds like you've done a lot of stuff outside of the Navy already, but like you said, we'll get into that. But here, let's go back to your early life. So you grew up in Springfield, Illinois. We already know that there's somebody else that we served on the same ship with that also went to it was at a rival school. How was it? How was it growing up in Springfield, Illinois? Because we know each other from all different types of background, being in the military, whether we're in the Army, Navy, Marines, whatever it is. But how was it out there, dude?
So like I said, grew up in Springfield, Illinois. I grew up in a lower income household. My dad was a mason the whole time from whenever I was born until I was in about 1st grade. So he was only home during the winter time. During the summer months, he was out building houses, government buildings, all that good stuff. So I never really got that connection with my dad. And then I would say about my middle school time frame, I spent a lot of time with my friends in the streets. not doing the right things. And I didn't want to keep doing that. I didn't really see a future in that. And that was right around the time that I was hanging out with my little cousin a little bit more. And I was able to teach a fourth grader seventh grade algebra. And he was applying that at school. And that was because of me. And that made me feel really good. And so that was like the very first time that I was like, oh, maybe I have this gift of reaching people. Um, so I wanted to get out of that situation. Chip, he went to Lanphier. I went to Southeast, like I said, crosstown rivals. I knew 9 people in my graduating class of over 300 from middle school. And so it was rough. My whole freshman year of high school, it was me trying to find myself again. Just I had a whole new set of friends that I could actually be myself around because I didn't have to put on that persona of, oh, this is who I am. I could relax and I could, dress how I wanted to dress and be who I wanted to be. And my friends definitely helped push me into the teach program at Southeast. And this is where juniors and seniors actually make lesson plans Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then they go out to fifth grade classrooms and they teach Thursday and they teach Friday, 2 different classrooms. It was amazing. And it was something that I really, really wanted to do. So I kept pursuing that. And like I said, I got my scholarship out at UIS. Thank you, UIS, for trying, but I had other things. I had other plans.
Yeah, man. And that sounds really super interesting, especially the fact that it's like, you already had a bit of that tutoring role. So the fact that you were able to actually be able to find a pathway, especially in such a, I guess, such a obscure situation, like you said, and then freaking going from middle school to high school, and then just kind of being a little bit loss of at a little bit of a loss of identity. That's usually what I've seen with a lot of people that I've heard become teachers or even get like into an educational type of field. Like there's always that necessity to just want to try to reach out and help other people. But with that, doing that, was there anybody in particular while you were doing the teaching, the lesson plans and everything that kind of encouraged you out of your teachers or like maybe one of the aides or anybody in there at your school?
So there was also a young teacher out of the program that I was in. His name's Mr. Bradley. Shout out Rashad Bradley. But he was there from day one. He helped me when I felt like I was failing. He would always be there to tell me, like, that's in the grand scheme of things, that's very minuscule. Like, you can get over that. My big thing is he told me there's no Velcro on the ground. You can always get back up. That stuck with me from that moment till today. So he definitely helped me out a lot.
Nice. That's awesome, dude. So you're doing this lesson plan. You already have basically that itch to become an educator in one way or another. You're in high school. What happens next? You're, I want to say freshman, maybe sophomore year, and then.
So yeah, I was going through that whole freshman year of lost identity. I actually failed 3 classes. So ending my freshman year with like a 1, I think it was a 1.5 or 1.7 GPA. Didn't really have a lot of confidence in myself, but something happened over that summer and I met my wife. Not really met her. I've known her since I was like 6 years old, but we got together. And what would she want to do with a high school dropout was another thing that stuck with me a lot. So I got my act together, wound up graduating high school with a 3.4 GPA. Like, everything I do is for that woman. It's crazy.
Gotcha, dude, man. So you graduate high school and you've already got another sense of purpose, man, at that point. And then like you said earlier, you had a kid. Like, how old were you when you had your first child, man?
My birthday is June 2nd. I graduate high school June 4th. By the end of that June, she's pregnant.
Man, that's super fast. So literally a year after you finish high school, you're already a
My
dad.
first semester of college was filled with doctor's appointments. I was working at Finish Line, Shop and Save, which is a little local grocery mart. Um, Cold Stone, I was back there slinging the ice cream, singing the songs. Yeah, man, I was trying, but I think I spent a little bit too much time playing Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2. That was right when that dropped.
Yeah, that's true, dude. So man, but still,
Yeah.
either way, like you putting it out that way, it really doesn't seem like obviously yes, there's decisions and time frames and situations happening, but at the fact, like I guess how people say it in hindsight, you were literally thrust into that adult life, dude. You were thrust into the early stages of fatherhood. So like I said, there sounds like there was a lot of pressure for you to be living to a higher expectation than what you were expecting, man. Like I said, I can still remember when I graduated, it's like no kids, no nothing. And it's just like, but I had other, let's just say I had other
Yeah.
difficulties after graduating, but at least I had I guess a more open road, a bigger field to be roaming around with. And like, in comparison to you literally had a full on responsibility like that from the very start,
Yeah,
man.
and I think coming from an only child, I was a lot alone by myself. So when I was together with my girlfriend at the time, now wife, that was a best friend. And then I had a little mini me come out of that. And my second semester of college she was born February 2nd. So I'm still 18 at this time. I've got no babysitters. Sometimes my wife is working full time at Bob Evans, and she's doing what she can, and I'm doing what I can, and I'm working at night. And sometimes I am bringing my baby with me to class. And I had amazing professors that understood. I just couldn't get the credits. I tried,
Man.
but I didn't try hard enough, I guess.
Yeah, no, but you did what you could. So you did what you
Yeah.
could at the time, which is what counts in that sense. But yeah, in that sense, it just didn't seem like it was that time. So your child is born. You're essentially failing out of high school at this point. I mean, not high school. You're essentially failing out of college, losing your scholarship, and basically going from job to job, or just working odd and end jobs. What's the next step? What besides that, what leads you to go into the Navy?
So I fail my second semester. I start going to a community college to make up my credits to get off of academic probation. Um, they put me on financial aid. I get money in my pocket at this time. And I'm like, whoa, that's crazy, because going to UIS, I didn't have money in my pocket. And at this time, I'm 18 years old. I need money. I'm a young dad. Sorry, UIS, I'm switching over to Lincoln Land, and I'm going to do what I need to do at Lincoln Land, and then I'll switch back over to UIS. And so I start doing that, and I'm in night classes, and I just got off work. So I'm in like my Finish Line t-shirt, some shorts, and I'm in my night class, and somebody in I think National Guard or something like that walks in his digicamis and sits right behind me. And I'm late on two papers. I'm late on two tests in math. Um, I'm behind, and I'm thinking, what am I gonna do? So I text my wife, I'm gonna join the Navy. She says, you do what you need to do for your family. And she was behind me.
Dang, man. And then what year was this when you joined in?
So this was summer of 2011. I joined and went to boot camp January of 2012.
Dang. So we're about so 1 year before, actually a little bit over a year and a half before I did. So you go to boot camp, man, and you end up basically down the street over at Great Lakes, right? Maybe like
Yeah.
an hour and a half away.
So actually, when I joined the Navy and boot camp, that was the longest time that I had spent away from my wife, and definitely the longest time that I spent away from my daughter. This was going on her second birthday, 2012.
Man.
And I was in boot camp during her birthday. That was the first time in boot camp that I broke down and cried and cried and cried.
Man. But how was boot camp for you? Like, you're already a dad, dude. Like, obviously we, like, when we're in there, we hear, we hear and we complain. It's like, oh, this dude's crying. He's doing, like, but same thing. We don't understand it. And it's like,
I had a lot of support. I'm not gonna lie. I had a lot of support.
Dang. No, that's good, dude. That's good. And like I said, that's the other side of the boot camp portion. A lot of people don't hear.
Yeah, like so that was the only thing that I had an issue with, was being separated from the two most important people in my life. And I wasn't able to tell the Navy because they would have told me to stay home, but my wife was pregnant at the time. My recruiter said, you can't say anything until you get to boot camp, or else they'll tell you can't go.
Dang.
So yeah, I had to get to boot camp, and then she had to write me a fake letter saying, hey, I'm pregnant.
Man.
Yeah, no, we already knew she was pregnant. Like,
it's like things. It's just things literally was just kind of like,
I needed to go for the money, man. Like I couldn't miss this opportunity, and they were getting me the right job that I needed, the advanced electronic computer field.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't back down from this. I had to jump on it.
Man, no, and I get you, dude. I definitely get you on that. So let's fast forward a little bit. So you're already at boot camp. You finished boot camp. Your wife's already pregnant with your second child. You missed your first kid's birthday, and then you went literally right across the street from Great Lakes over to the training site. And then, what was your specialty in the Navy? I guess,
So I went into, like I said, the advanced electronic computer field, and you get one of two jobs going into that. You either get an electronics technician or a fire controlman. And two biggest difference: electronic technicians work on the computer cards and the radars and stuff. Fire controlman, you work on the guns.
Gotcha. And then that's that big difference where a lot of people don't say, they don't understand it. It's like you get into like the nitty gritty of like this very specifics.
Right. I tell people, I was a fire controlman, and they're like, oh, you put out fires. No. I did the pew pew fire.
Yeah, exactly. So that happens. You train over across the street, and then
I'm there for a year.
Yeah.
I'm there for a year. My wife is able to move up with me, so I take my wife, and thankfully, like, we have family that live there. We move up there, and man, the family up there, they're awesome. I love those guys. But yeah, we were up there a year, and then I get my job as a fire controlman, and then they were like, all right, you get CWIS. And that school is San Diego.
Dang.
So I had to take my family from Illinois, where we've been all our life, all the way across the country to San Diego.
Yeah, and how was that? I mean, you're literally moving across the country at this point, completely different environment and completely different vibe from the Midwest. I think, Chicago still, Illinois area is still the Midwest. So like, how was that, man? Like being on that side of the beach.
So we wanted to keep our cars, so we drove. We didn't put them on whatever. They had the Navy pack us up. They put it on a semi, and they took it to California, and we hopped in our cars and we drove, and it was amazing. I remember the day too. We left Chicago, and it was 20 degrees, and the February, and we were driving south. And as we got to Springfield, it was 12 degrees, and I'm like, this doesn't make sense. We're going south. It should be getting warmer. Why is it colder? But we said goodbye to the family. We had a little, I think it was February, so my daughter's birthday party with the family and friends, and see ya for 9 months. I was gone, a little under 9 months. I was gone until September. So San Diego from February till September of 2013.
Gotcha. And then you were out there for 9 months, and then that's when you got your orders up to back. Well, out to the West Coast to Virginia, to Norfolk.
So I have a little nitpicky story about why I got orders to the Anzio.
Oh, tell me, man. Those are my favorite ones because the Navy keeps screwing people over one way or another.
SC2 Brown. I'll give you a finger.
We'll find him, dude. Don't worry.
So, yeah, during, I believe it's either my final or my midterm. It's one of the two big tests. I think it's my final, actually. I'm second in class. And out of 3 classes that get to pick for orders, I'm like 4th or 5th. So I'm like, I want to go to Hawaii. Me and my family, we want to go to Hawaii. Mm-hmm. And there's like 2 Hawaii orders on there. So I'm like, yeah. I do my final, right? CWIS, big doors that enclose things. They say that it's a 2-man lift. So when we're in training, we got 4 people in a group. There's 2 people lifting it, but when you do your final, you have to do it by yourself. And so I'm just in the mode. I'm boop, 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 boop. I lift the doors up. It's like a 70-pound door. It's a 1-man person. If you're strong, you lift it up. And I did the check and I found the part. And he's like, "You're the fastest person that get that done." I'm like, "Cool." He's like, "How do you think you did?" "I'm pretty good." He's like, "I got to take 10 points off for a safety violation." I'm like, he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "You didn't lift." He's like, "You got to ask me to help lift the door." I'm like, "Really? Are you serious?" So that took me from 100% down to a 90. Damn. And then he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "The tool, you left it back over there. That's another safety violation. That's 5 points." I'm like, "Oh, I got an 85 on the final?" Dude, I got the lowest score on the final because of those 2 little safety violations.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it happens, dude.
The fastest person to ever get that done. And I get the lowest grade in the class.
Yep.
Bye-bye Hawaii orders.
Man. So
technically I get orders to the Tortuga, which is in Japan,
yeah.
And I start flipping balls. Like, no, I'm not uprooting. My wife has a heart condition. Mm-hmm. Like, we are staying stateside. I'm not going. So then they start doing works and they're like, "Well, the Tortuga is technically swapping," and then they're going over to Virginia Beach. So you'll just meet the Tortuga over Virginia Beach. Get to Virginia Beach, Tortuga never shows up. They're just like, "They're still in Japan. We don't know. So we're just going to put you on the Anzio." The Anzio's decommissioning. You'll be able to pick orders in again another 6-8 months. I'm like, "All right, cool, whatever."
Oh man, funny story about that one, dude. When I got there, they were already halfway through the decommissioning program, and then that's when they finally got that second plant up and running that had been failing for like the past 2.5 years. Man, you remember that, right?
Yep. Oh yeah, of course.
No, dude. And that's always the interesting part. Like, a lot of people that are like outside of the military, they tend to think is like, "Oh man, like you're gonna get sent to X location without your choice." Like, in a sense, yes, but you have very little control out of what you're allowed to choose and what's available to be able to choose. So in essence, it still just sucks. It's still just freaking up to fate.
It burns. It does on the inside still. FC2 Brown.
Don't worry, man. I'll find him. You want me to get his data? I got it, you.
Yeah, he's probably out of the Navy. That was almost 10 years ago, bro. Oh shit, that's 12 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm old,
dude. We're getting there, man. We're not old, dude. We're just getting a little bit older. That's it.
Yeah, we're wise. That's what I said. All these gray hairs. I'm like, yeah, I'm just one step closer to being a wizard.
Exactly, man. There you go, dude. But here, let's get on right there, dude. So we meet on the Anzio, man, and there's a very specific thing like that I always think about too. Because it's like it's something that you brought up when I asked you the questions, when I sent you the questions for the intro and the briefing, was that is like we were in Canada and we've known each other from walking around the ship and everything, and it's like that's just the funniest part that we both end up on watch with the Germans across the freaking pier. You're on topside rover, I'm messenger. And then we literally freaking basically double team talking to them, dude. So that was a cool experience, man. But again, so we're on the Anzio, and And like I said, dude, like how was for you, dude? For you, like for me, I still that's God's cruiser, dude. That's CG68 all the way.
100%. Like I had a license plate that said CG68 forever. Like I love that shit.
Oh yeah, dude. And it was like
I love the people on it. Like I still have contacts from everybody on there. Like the Seaways group, my boys, I'm still chatting it up with them. Fisher, you're still Amish.
dude, well, we can always share it to them, and they can come and like rag on you and tell you it's like, oh man, freaking Chaz, man, freaking
Yep.
Clinton, he's out here trying to get famous now.
Yeah. Old Bill.
But dang, dude. But yeah, but so you were there from 2013, end of 2013
Yep.
to
October 2013 until January of 18.
January of 18. Yeah. So yeah, so you were there still another year after I left. How was it for you being on the ship from your perspective? Like I said, obviously, like I said, I can say what I can about me, but like and it was basically your only command, right? You only did one tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you being a one tour guy, how was it for you, man? Like knowing that you did your time on the ship, and
It was
and
what
that?
it was what I thought it would be, with the exception of the BS that came, with the upper chain of command not really being that bright, just being more senior. The military has a lot of those guys who they've just really stuck around. They're not really that bright. They've got, the 3 chevrons, but you should probably pick a different crayon in that box.
Yeah, it is. It does make a difference. That's for sure, man. So 2018, you get out, dude. You did your time in the military. You served your country. And one thing that surprised me about how you actually went about your career was that I still remember us having this conversation, like right around the time frame when they were decomming the ship. You're like, man, we were getting rid of so many things, and like, no, dude, I'm going to take an SCBA. I'm going to take a flight suit. A fire suit and everything. It's like, I'm going to make the restaurant. You still have that stuff? It's government property, man, right? No, dude. So what happened though, dude? What happened with the restaurant idea? I remember you telling me like you wanted to get back home and start a restaurant and have all that, along with like people dropping off memorabilia from whatever service and stuff.
Yeah, so it really was a test of will. Like I said, I had to provide for my family. Everything's always been for my family. When I got home, I struggled with business plans and I struggled with connections, and I had lined up education, because that was for me, and this restaurant was my wife's dream. But she had a job at the bank, and she was making decent money at the bank. So we just got comfortable. Like I said, I got a job at the middle school that I attended, Washington Middle School. And from there, I wasn't making enough to also be an online student. I was getting like $120 a paycheck, I'm gonna be honest, as a paraprofessional for a district, and I couldn't survive that way. So I dug deep in my brain. I'm like, how can I still be a teacher? What can I still do? So I went online and I started looking at different ways that I can be certified to teach, and I found CTE, Career Technical Educator, something like that. And basically, as long as I went to college for that, I could teach that.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to college for accounting, and I had to work, and I had to have so many like hours worked. And so I got with the Department of Human Services with Illinois and I worked there for a year, doing data entry pretty much as a clerk accountant. And after a year, I moved up to pretty much running the prisoner review board by myself. It was just me. The person above me worked down the street. So it was crazy. So if I had questions, I had to either email him, call him, or tell, my boss here, like, hey, I got to go down here and ask him how to do this. I don't have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
So it was just me over there. And I ran that place, and they loved me. I told them as soon as I got there, I'm like, I am going to be a teacher. I'm continuing to go to school. So as soon as I get my degree and I get certified, I'm out. And I was always upfront with them. And then it became the time, and they enjoyed my time there. I enjoyed my time there, and so it was a big step in my career. I don't think that I would have the experience that I have now if I didn't work as an accountant for the state. Like I learned so much about the business side of running pretty much an agency by myself.
Man, that's crazy, dude.
And this was 2019 through 2021. So this was right before COVID, through COVID, right at the end of COVID.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask. I mean, like looking at the timeline, like how did that affect you, like in that sense? Because obviously, like everything basically with the standstill and shutdowns and everything going on, like how was that for you, especially literally at the tail end of COVID? Well, I guess at the highest peak and then near the tail end, you decide to switch over to try to keep pursuing that education, that dream of education. How was that for you, especially like with the new restrictions and still a lot of those the restrictions and everything still being implemented and still being around?
Yeah, it was rough going from education major to accounting major, only because I was so involved in the education system. My favorite classes that I was taking were the ones about special education and learning about the different ways that kids with special needs learn. Like that was my favorite class. Like I had to volunteer in a class that was an inclusion class, and it was amazing and I loved it. So my last day working at Washington Middle School, my last day in my education major program, it took me 2 hours to leave that parking lot. I cried and cried and cried, and it still hurts to this day. And that was when I knew I belonged in the classroom. So that day drove me harder to become a teacher.
Gotcha. So you finish that education plan, you basically get your degree, and you start teaching in 2021, right? 2021, 2022.
Yeah, 2021, 2022 was my first year. Yep.
So fresh teacher, you're literally coming back to teach where you failed, reapplied yourself, and graduated. Yeah. That's the best thing about it, though, dude. This is like a mini redemption arc right there.
It's full circle. It's 100% full circle, and I love it because I love all of these students that go there, and I see so much of myself in these guys, and I just want to be that teacher that's like, listen, I know you guys are going to mess up right now, but look at me. I was in that seat literally 15, 16 years ago. I failed Mr. Potter. He just won Educator of the Year. Love that guy. Failed him my freshman year. Failed the mess out of that class. But I love that guy. And now he's my coworker, and it's amazing. All of my whole entire staff, we love those kids. And it's just working there is amazing.
No, it sounds awesome, dude. It really does. And like, especially as much as you love it, being a teacher and being that extra voice of reason that, like I said, like, you know it, I for sure know, like having that one teacher or at least that one person that's either a guidance counselor that actually listens to you and gives you that mentorship. So
yeah,
this is a little bit more of a personal question rather than towards the teaching side. But obviously we grew up in that one transition of like technology, the high end, the low end, still high end technology of our time with the iPhone, the touchscreens, and literally emerging into the internet. How is it now with these new teenagers? Like I said, I'm not trying to be judgmental, but it's like, we need to address the exact same separations.
No, it's definitely funny that you should ask, because I went into teaching and I thought that I'd be teaching numbers, accounting, business. But me being a first year teacher, new to the building, they kind of dumped this freshman class on me called keyboarding, and then this other half called digital literacy. And all of these other teachers hated teaching it because it was just freshmen. Well, I get these freshmen in, and here's, Mr. Clinton, just out of, a couple years out of the military, um, 13 years out of high school. So I'm a little bit older than them, and actually I know most of their family. So it's like they, I don't see these kids as like students. These are like my little brothers. These are my little sisters that I'm guiding. So I started. Now this is my fourth year. So what does that mean? Those little freshmen that were my babies,
Mhm.
they're grown and seniors now. So yeah, I see them out on the streets, and they're like, "Yo, what up, C?" I'm like, "Hey." So yeah, the teaching it's my calling. I love it.
No, that's freaking awesome, dude. So fourth year in now. Like I said, you literally were able to usher in your own personal class, get them to graduation, and it's 2025, man. They're literally about to graduate. I'm guessing this May, this June. If well, yeah, if any of your students do see this interview and they learn a little bit more about you outside of what you've already told them, what do you want to tell them, especially now that they're coming into their own and stepping into the adult world?
It's crazy out here. Take it one day at a time, for real. You can get caught up in a lot of things very quickly. So my students, I tell them pretty much everything that I just told you. I'm very open with my students. Actually, my daughter, she's 15 years old. She's a freshman. She's in my seventh hour. She's one of my students. It's so, and I tell her I treat my students like I treat my kids. Take it one day at a time. You guys got this.
Nice, dude. No, that's awesome. Well, shoot, dude. Freaking well. Shifting a little bit over on the other side. I mean, now I've known you as what do you call it? As FC2 Clinton, Chaz.
Yeah.
Now I know you as Mr. Clinton, a teacher out in Lincoln, dude. Again, like what other things outside or even in school, like what other things are you involved in, man? Because like you're telling me a lot of the stuff, and it's like I know for sure 100%, 110% you're definitely involved in the school a lot. So, and I know you're going to be one of the fun teachers. So what else do you do at the school to help these kids to I guess to keep yourself young at this point, man? Because it's a lot.
Yeah. So my first year, I'm a huge Dungeons and Dragons nerd. I had to bring that club to the school, and all of the teachers that have been around since I was there, they're trying to rack their memory, and they're like, I don't think we've ever had a D&D club. So I'm pretty sure that I brought Southeast their first D&D club. I tried coaching football a little bit. Um, I loved it. It was very time consuming, and I wasn't ready. It was after my first year, going into my second year, very time consuming. I wasn't ready for it. My wife wasn't ready for it. My family wasn't ready for it. So I backed out. Um, Kept doing D&D club. Unfortunately, D&D club is going to end, but I do have bigger news coming.
Okay. All right. So you want to share that here, or you want to keep it out for later?
No, that's fine. So I've put in to be the head coach of the esports program for District 186. We've got a lot of players who have already gone to state, won state. They're back. They're going through their tournaments right now. Wish them all the luck. And so hopefully my background as a gamer, my love for these kids for District 186, hopefully that puts me at the top of the list for this esports position. Because if so, man, I'm telling you, this district's gonna have to wheel me out whenever I'm old. Because I don't plan on leaving at all. You're telling me that I can teach these kids and play video games with them? Come on, bro, get me out of here. You're it's crazy.
No, dude, that's freaking awesome. So, for what esports is it going to be? What do you call it? First FPS.
There's a bunch. So there's Valorant, Overwatch. They got Call of Duty. Super Smash Brothers. Yeah, dude, there's a bunch. I'm so excited.
Dude, no,
So
and
excited.
no, and especially like us growing up, like they always told us, no, you're never gonna do anything with video games. Video games is never gonna do anything for you. You can't earn money. Look at the past 10, 15 years at this point.
That's literally what my dad told me growing up. And whenever I got kind of offered, kind of like, hey, do you want to do this? I went up to my dad and I was like, hey, guess what? I'm gonna get more money because I play video games. Ha!
Yeah, dude, it's funny, and it's funny how things kind of turn around with like every generation and every single thing. My dad used to say the same thing to me. I mean, obviously, I'm not making money off of playing video games, but we've had that conversation too, and it's just like, hey, man, it was an escape. It's no different.
Yeah, and on more big news. Today I got my LLC for gaming, so
Yeah.
I am going to start putting out videos. I'm going to start, selling some t-shirts. My gamer tag is Awkward Turtle, spelled AWKWRDTRTL. You can find me on Facebook, Awkward Turtle Gaming. Send me a friend request. I don't have any videos up yet, but by the time this airs, I probably will.
Probably, man. Yeah. So, like it says, we are recording this a little bit ahead of time just to be able to give me some time to be able to edit together, but also like I said, put the touches all together for this. But yeah, man. Other than that, dude, I mean, I got no more other questions. And like I said, yeah, do you got any questions? Anything else you want to put out?
Nah, man. I just want to say thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure. I hope this blows up. I hope me and you both blow up, bro. Let's get famous off this, dog.
We got to do something, dude. But no, dude, like first off, like to close it off, I mean, thank you, man. Thank you, especially one for your service, primarily for your service. Because like I said, I was there with you on the ship. We were reeling in line. We were bringing in supplies and we were out there coasting in the water.
Shoulder to shoulder,
man. Freaking late nights, freaking dealing with the Germans in a different way, of course, because so it doesn't have to repeat itself.
We're getting some supplies from them this time.
Exactly. So on that one, and on the second one, I mean, for your service to the state of Illinois, dude, because I mean, public servants, man, you guys are a great service to the community and everything it stands for, and then primarily and most importantly for what you're doing now, which, like I said, was the main reason for the episode, but also the main reason why I wanted you to come into this episode is for being a teacher, man, for being a teacher. And then from myself to you to keep telling you is like, you know what? Thank you, Mr. Clinton. Thank you, Chaz, for being a great teacher.
Thank you for the support, 100%, everybody. Thank you for the support. I do this out of the love of my heart because that's all that I have, man, is love for everybody, for real.
Exactly, dude. And then we know it for sure. But yeah, but thank you, man. So with that, we'll close it off. Thank you again for coming on to the ESL sessions, to this segment of En Mi Comunidad, in my community, and for being a part of this great community. Thank you again.